The invitation, the message arrived in the middle of the night. It came from deep space, carrying the seal of the Virellan Empire, the most powerful alien alliance in the galaxy. Their ships were huge, their technology older than human history, and their army had crushed many worlds. But now they were sending a message to Earth. We seek peace. The words were clear, polite, and full of false hope. Earth's leaders listened to the message with quiet faces. No one smiled. No one trusted it. President Ada Reyes sat in the dark command chamber under the city of Geneva. Around her, generals, scientists, and diplomats watched the screen as the message played for the third time. They've been at war with us for years, General Kareem said, arms crossed. Why peace now? Because they're afraid, Reyes replied. Or worse, because they're planning something. The Virellans invited humanity to a peace summit aboard their space station, Velora Prime, far from Earth, near a gas giant in neutral space. They promised safe passage, no weapons, no traps, but humanity had seen history. They knew better. Captain Alara Miles stood inside her ship, the Horizon's Edge. She was the chosen ambassador to meet the Virellans face to face. Her ship was not a warship. It had smooth curves, painted white with silver markings, and no visible weapons. But it was a lie. Beneath the calm surface, the ship hid plasma cannons, anti-boarding systems, and an AI defense core. Alara's crew were not just diplomats. They were trained soldiers. As the ship prepared to leave Earth's orbit, she spoke to her crew. Remember, we don't fire unless fired upon. But if it's a trap, she paused, we don't run either. Her voice was calm, her eyes cold. She had seen the worst in war and trusted no offer that came too easily. Above Earth's dark side, in the shadow of the moon, a second fleet moved silently. 15 warships painted black, cloaked in silence. They belonged to Project Blackstar, Earth's secret defense plan. They would follow the Horizon's Edge at a safe distance, staying hidden behind the gas giant near Velora Prime. 3 days. Later, the human ship arrived. The Virellan station floated like a dark jewel in space. It was massive, 30 times the size of the human ship. Lights ran across its surface like veins. Hundreds of alien ships floated nearby. Some looked like birds, others like insects. All of them were watching. As the Horizon's Edge approached, Alara stood near the front window, her hands behind her. Back, her face was calm, but her thoughts were sharp. Any signs of weapons charging? She asked. None yet, her officer replied. But power signatures are. Strange. They're higher than normal. They're ready, she whispered. But so are we. From behind the gas giant, Earth's hidden fleet moved into silent formation. Their engines hummed quietly, their weapons on standby. They were too far to be seen, but not too far to strike. The docking system clicked into place. The human ship locked onto the Virellan station. Air pressure matched. The doors would open. In 2 minutes, Alara looked at her second-in-command, Lieutenant Ronan. Last chance to walk away, she said with a small smile. We brought the storm, he said. Let them feel the thunder. Alara stepped into the docking tube, her boots echoing against the metal floor. She wore a diplomat's uniform, but under it, armor plates and a hidden pulse pistol waited. Inside the station. The air was cold. The walls were tall, made of silver and green crystal. Alien guards stood on both sides. Some had smooth gray skin, others had insect-like eyes. All of them stared at her. At the center of the hall stood Chancellor Drox, the leader of the Virellans. He looked like a serpent with arms. His smile was wide, his eyes thin. Welcome, Captain Alara. We thank Earth for accepting peace. She nodded politely. We always hope for peace. But you do not trust it, Drox said softly. She didn't reply. Silence was her answer. As The council meeting began. Alara took her seat among the circle of alien leaders. The lights dimmed and a soft music played, but her thoughts stayed sharp. Why were there so many guards in a peace meeting? Why were the exit doors locked from the outside? Why was the power level rising across the station? Back in Earth's war room, President Reyes watched the live data stream. The generals looked nervous. "Ma'am," a technician said, "the station is charging power to unknown systems. It's not normal." Reyes leaned forward. "Send the code, quietly." Asterisk the Council of Lies, Captain Ilara, sat at the long silver table inside the Grand Council chamber of Valora Prime. The walls around her were tall and curved, like the inside of a glass cathedral. Strange lights floated near the ceiling. Alien flags hung silently behind the Varellan Chancellor. But Ilara wasn't looking at the beauty. She was watching the guards. There were too many, at least 12. Varellan soldiers stood at the edges of the room, wearing smooth black armor and holding long pulse rifles. Their hands never moved from the triggers. Chancellor Drox stood at the head of the table, his snake-like body calm, his voice soft. "We are honored," he said, "to welcome humanity to the first step toward lasting peace." His smile was wide. Too wide. Ilara nodded politely. "Peace is always welcome, but peace with honor, not with fear." Several alien leaders around the table turned their heads. Some looked surprised by her boldness. Others smiled slightly, as if they had been waiting for someone to speak truth. Drox only laughed. "Of course, let us speak as equals." The meeting began. Drox spoke of war, loss, misunderstanding. He blamed the violence on mistakes from both sides. He said the Varellans wanted to stop the fighting, to build a shared future. But Ilara noticed something. He never said sorry. He never admitted to the bombings, the ambushes, the civilian deaths. Instead, he offered small gifts: mineral rights, trade routes, a small moon near Varellan space, as a symbol of friendship. Ilara's face stayed calm, but inside, her thoughts raced. Bribe first, then trap. That's their way. Suddenly, a silent beep came through her earpiece. Only she could hear it. The voice was her ship's AI. "Captain, we are detecting small power spikes in the station's lower levels. Possibly weapon systems charging. Number: direct threat yet." She tapped her fingers twice on the table, her silent response. "Understood. Keep watching." A tall alien leader from the Kirella Union, known for their peaceful nature, leaned forward. "I agree with the humans," she said. "Peace must be earned, not forced." Drox's smile cracked just a little. "I assure you," he said, "there is no force here. Only hope." But Ilara caught the flash of irritation in his eyes. Just for a second. That second told her everything. This was not a meeting. This was a performance. In orbit. Beyond the gas giant, the Black Star fleet remained silent. Captain Rain stood on the bridge of the ESS Vindication, the lead stealth cruiser. The stars glowed outside his window. He turned to his tactical officer. "Any signs of Varellan reinforcements?" "Not yet, sir," the officer said. "But we picked up strange signal traffic 2 hours ago. Encrypted military pattern." Rain narrowed his eyes. "Wake the fleet. Quietly. Bring us within strike range." The fleet began to move slowly, invisibly toward Valora Prime. Back in the council chamber, Ilara leaned forward. "Chancellor Drox," she said, her voice smooth but sharp, "there are rumors that Varellan ships are being moved near Earth's border, that civilian transports have gone missing, that your empire seeks dominance, not peace." Drox's smile disappeared. "You accuse us without proof?" "I ask with caution," she replied. Silence fell over the chamber. Several alien leaders shifted in their seats. One coughed. Another whispered something to her assistant. Then the lights flickered. only for half a second. Alara didn't move, but her pulse quickened. Back on her ship, alarms began flashing in soft red. Her AI spoke again. "Captain." Energy surge inside. "Station. Shield grid powering up. Internal scanners have gone dark. This is a security lockdown." Alara stood from her chair slowly. "I thank you, Chancellor, for your hospitality," she said. "But I think we've heard enough for one day." Drox's voice changed, cold, flat. "I'm afraid you cannot leave yet, Captain." She turned toward him, her expression calm. "Is that a threat?" He didn't answer, but the guards stepped forward. The other alien leaders looked around in shock. One stood up. "What is this? This is not peace." Another yelled, "You promised safety." Drox slammed a fist on the table. "Enough! Humanity cannot be trusted. They hide weapons. They hide ships. They are liars just like they were in the old wars." Alara smiled, just a little. "You should be careful, Chancellor," she said. "When you play with traps, make sure your prey hasn't brought a bigger one." She tapped her wrist. "Code Blackstar. Go loud. Asterisk in space, 15 cloaked human warships." Unshackled their systems. Engines flared. Weapons locked. Dot shields lit up like stars. Earth's answer to the Varellan peace was ready. Asterisk. The trap springs alarm screamed through the Varellan space station. Red lights spun across the walls. Security doors slammed shut. Alien guards raised their weapons toward Captain Alara. Around the table, confused council members stood up, shouting over one another. "What's happening? This was supposed to be peace. Are the humans attacking?" But Alara didn't flinch. Her eyes stayed locked on Chancellor Drox. "I warned you," she said quietly. "We came in peace, but we came prepared." Drox hissed and raised a hand. "Detain the human. Lock her ship down. Take control before he could finish." The entire room shook. The station trembled, as if something massive had slammed into it. Ilara's earpiece crackled. "This is ESS Vindication. Blackstar Fleet has uncloaked. We have orbital dominance. Targets locked." She tapped her wrist again. "Hold fire. Show them our shadow first." Outside the station, the Varellan fleet began to panic. Hundreds of alien ships hovered near Velora Prime, but now 15 human warships had appeared out of nowhere, black, glowing with energy. Their weapon systems humming like thunder. They didn't fire, not yet, but the message was clear. "You are not in control anymore." On the command bridge of ESS Vindication, Captain Rain stood tall. "All ships in position," said his tactical officer. "We're holding orbit over the station. Virellans are scattering. They didn't expect this." Rain smiled. "That's because we didn't send diplomats," he said. "We sent a warning in disguise." Back inside the council chamber, alien guards rushed forward to grab Alara. They never reached her. 3 soft flashes lit the room. Pop, popped out. Human Marines in stealth armor appeared out of thin air, decloaking with precision. They moved like shadows, weapons raised, eyes glowing behind their visors. The guards didn't stand a chance. Within seconds, they were disarmed and on the floor. Elara turned to the stunned alien leaders. "This was never a real peace meeting," she said. "It was a trap. But we weren't the prey." Far above, the Blackstar fleet began sending messages to every nearby ship in a dozen alien languages. "This is the Earth Defense Alliance. We are not here to conquer. We are here to survive. You've been lied to. Stand down and live." On board the Varellan flagships, chaos broke out. Some captains hesitated. Some tried to charge their weapons. Others simply shut everything down too. Afraid to fight, even Varellan soldiers could see the truth. The humans had come with precision, with planning, with power. Elra marched through the station's hallways, guarded by her Marines. The station's AI had locked doors, but her tech officer hacked through them easily. "Captain," he said, "we've taken control of the station's internal systems. Cameras, power, doors ours now." "Good," she said. "Time to show the galaxy who they're really dealing with." They reached the central broadcast tower. Within minutes, a signal was sent to every ship near Velora. Prime and beyond. The screens lit up with Ilara's face. To all species watching this transmission, she began, her voice firm, steady. Earth was invited here under the promise of peace. But instead, we found weapons aimed at our ship, soldiers hiding in the shadows, and betrayal behind every smile. We did not come for war. But we are not afraid of it either. The Verellen Empire no longer owns the truth. The galaxy deserves better. In the Verellen control room, Chancellor Drox smashed the table. Cut that transmission. Shut her down. But it was too late. The message was already spreading. Ships far and wide watched. Alien commanders listened. Civilians across planets replayed her words again and again, and something changed. The galaxy began to doubt the VIRLLNS. And for the first time, they started to believe in the humans. Outside, the human warships remained still, glowing like dark angels in orbit. They never fired a single shot, but their presence alone had done more than 1,000 battles. They had shattered the illusion. A Verellen power. And now, the galaxy was watching. The battle for balance. The galaxy held its breath. Ilara's broadcast was still playing across hundreds of star systems. Her face, calm and serious, stared back from every screen. Her words were sharp, her message clear. Humanity did not come to kneel. On the bridge of the Verellen command cruiser, Chancellor Drox was no longer calm. His fingers twitched. His eyes, cold and dark, burned with rage. Cut off the broadcast. He yelled, "Bring our fleet into attack formation. Destroy the human ships." The officers hesitated. One of them, a younger alien with pale green skin, looked confused. "But sir, the humans haven't fired. Their ships outmatch ours. If we attack," I said, "fire." In space, the Verellen fleet began to move, turned toward the human positions. Energy weapons charged. Shield grids lit up across their hulls. The trap had failed, but Drox still wanted a victory. On board the ESS Vindication, Captain Rain watched the enemy on his screen. "They're powering weapons," his officer said. "Orders?" Rain didn't blink. Ilara said not to strike. "First, but if they shoot," he paused, "we end this." Back aboard the Verellen station, Ilara and her Marines reached the diplomatic hangar. The council members followed, shaken and silent. Ambassador Yalix of the Corelli Union approached her. "You knew," Yalix said. "You knew it was all a setup." "I didn't know," Ilara replied. "I felt it, and that was enough." Another alien leader, a wide-eyed insectoid from the Tresh Syndicate, whispered, "Your people came with warships, but you never attacked." "We didn't need to," Ilara said. "We came for balance. And now it's time to choose." Suddenly, the station shook again, this time harder. Sparks flew from the ceiling. "They've started firing." A Marine shouted. Verellen cruisers opened fire on Vindication. Ilara's eyes narrowed. "So be it." She pressed her wrist comb. "Black Star Fleet engage. Defend. Disable only. No total destruction unless necessary." Space exploded. Into light, human ships moved like silent hunters. Their weapons were fast, precise. They targeted engines, weapons, and command centers, never life support. Verellen ships broke formation in panic. Some tried to flee. Others were stopped by EMP waves that froze their systems cold. Within minutes, the once mighty Varellan fleet, was in chaos, but not all of them were enemies. On one Varellan ship, Captain Jorel watched his screen as his fleet fell apart. He turned to his crew. Enough. He opened a channel to Ilara. This is Captain Jorel of the Varellan 7th Line. We do not support Drox. He betrayed all of us. We're standing down. Ilara nodded. Good choice. Help evacuate civilians from the lower decks. You're not our enemy today. More voices followed. Zens of ships from smaller alien nations once ruled by fear under the Varellans sent the same message. We stand with Earth. Inside the control tower, Chancellor Drox received the reports. 35 ships disabled. 20 rebelled. 3 surrendered. His empire was falling apart in real time. With shaking hands, he activated a secret code in old Varellan failsafe. If he couldn't win, he would destroy everything. Back in the human fleet, sensors picked up the signal. Captain, an officer yelled. Drox has activated the station's self-destruct system. 5 minutes. Ilara's voice came through instantly. Disable. Get inside. Stop him. Rain responded. Understood. 3 stealth shuttles detached from the Vindication, racing toward the station like shooting stars. Inside them, elite Marines in blackout armor loaded their gear. Drox stood in the control room, watching the countdown. 4 minutes. He stared out the window at the burning wrecks of his once proud fleet. Fools, he whispered. You don't deserve peace. You deserve silence. Then crash. The door exploded open. Smoke filled the air. Human Marines stormed in with perfect timing. Before Drox could press the final button, 2 stun bolts hit him in the chest. He dropped to the floor, unconscious. The countdown froze at 0:47. The station's core was safe. The trap was over, and humanity had turned it into a message dot in the quiet. That followed, Ilara stood before the alien council once more. Her voice echoed through the hall. We didn't want to fight. We wanted a future. She looked at each of them. You all have a choice now. Keep following tyrants, or stand with those who value truth. One by one, they nodded. And for the first time in decades, the stars began to change. Asterisk. Exposing the line, news of the failed Varellan trap spread faster than light, from the mining colonies of Raxion Prime to the floating cities of Galithar. Species across the galaxy watched the recordings in shock. For years, they had believed that humanity was dangerous, reckless, even primitive. But now, they saw something else. Control, honor, power with restraint. And most of all, truth. Captain. Ilara stood inside the main broadcast chamber of Velora Prime. Around her, the council. Members sat in silence. Above them floated dozens of holoscreens showing footage from the battle, audio logs, and a live feed from Earth. Ilara walked to the center slowly. We were told this meeting was for peace, she said. But behind every word was a weapon. With a gesture, she opened the first file, a secret message, intercepted by human AI 2 days before the summit. Stage the talks. When the humans are inside, lock the station. Force them to surrender or be destroyed. Varellan command message 7x theta. Gasps filled the chamber. Lies, someone whispered. They planned the whole thing. Ilara played more. Recordings of Drox giving silent orders to move warships behind gas clouds. Schematics of hidden weapons inside the station walls. Secret prisons for political enemies. The room felt heavier with every truth revealed. Even some Varellan officers in the crowd looked away in shame. Then came the final clip. Drox moments before his arrest, activating the self-destruct code to kill everyone, including civilians and fellow diplomats. Elara turned to the room. This is the peace they offered. The council erupted in noise, cries of anger, shock, betrayal. One alien leader stood, her eyes full of fire. For centuries, we believed Varellans were protectors, but they ruled with fear. And now they would have killed us all. Another shouted, they blamed the humans. But it was Drox all along. Others began to talk rapidly in their own languages, fists on the table, demands for justice ringing through the air. Elara remained calm, watching the storm unfold. This was the balance she had hoped for. Not revenge, revelation, in orbit. The remaining. Varellan ships began to stand down. Some powered off and opened communication with Earth. Others, realizing the Empire was broken, activated emergency beacons and requested political asylum. Captain Rain stood on the bridge of vindication, arms folded behind his back. Orders, Captain? His officer asked. Rain smiled faintly. Let them talk. The galaxy has already heard. Enough from their weapons. Back on the station, the human Marines delivered Chancellor Drox, still unconscious, to a secured holding cell. Outside the cell stood guards from 3 different alien worlds. He will answer, said one of them. Not just to humans, but to all of us. Elara nodded. Let him live. Let him explain. That will be the true punishment. Later that day, Elara broadcast one final message. She stood before the same galaxy that once feared her people. We do not want to rule your stars. We do not want your planets, your wealth, or your pride. We want only one thing, truth. And we will fight for it without hesitation, without apology. To those who seek power through fear, know this. We are watching. We are listening. And next time, we may not come with warnings. The screen went black. Across the stars, everything began to shift. On planets where the Varellans once ruled, statues were torn down. Protests lit up the streets. In the dark corners of forgotten systems, resistance groups raised Earth's flag, not as servants, but as symbols of defiance. And in deep space, where the stars were quiet, a new alliance was being born, not through weapons, but through trust. Inside her ship, Elara stood near the observation deck, staring at the planet below. Ronan stepped beside her. We could have wiped them out, he said. We could have, she agreed. But then we'd become them. He nodded, understanding. They'll remember this day. She smiled. They already have. Behind her, the stars looked different. Now brighter. The new piece. Galaxy was still trembling from the revelations. For the first time in centuries, warships were retreating instead of charging forward. Borders long carved in blood began to blur. And where hatred had once burned like wildfire, something strange was starting to grow. Respect. Elara sat at a long, glass-like table surrounded by leaders of 100 worlds. This time, no weapons were hidden beneath the floor. No warships hovered. Just out of sight, only voices and stories. Each leader stood in turn and spoke not demands or territory, but about paying. Lost soldiers, broken treaties. Generations raised on fear. Then it was Elara's turn. She rose slowly and spoke clearly, her voice soft but steady. We all carry wounds. But wounds can either rot or they can heal. Let today be the scar we choose to remember. Not for pain, but for what we chose to become after. The room was quiet for a long time, and then they applauded, not politely, passionately, far across the stars. On Earth, massive crowds filled the sky cities of New Athens and the underground plazas of Orion's cradle. Holoscreens showed Elara's speech in every major tongue. For once, humans weren't feared for their violence. They were admired for their mercy. Veterans cried. Children cheered. Scientists launched new diplomatic probes to unknown systems. Earth wasn't a rogue planet anymore. It was becoming a lighthouse. Meanwhile, the Varellan Empire fractured like glass under pressure. Dozens of planets broke away, forming their own. Republics. Military officers turned against their old orders. Some even offered apologies to the humans they once hunted. Drox was transferred to a tribunal on neutral ground, where survivors of his regime would finally speak. Ilara refused to attend. He's part of the past, she told Ronan. I'm focused on the future. But not everything was calm. In the cold dark of the Quara Rift, a signal flickered to life, something old. Something buried. The message was simple. A warning written in ancient code, one not used since the days before warp travel. They are watching. The scientists stared at it for hours. They tried to trace its origin, but it came from beyond the mapped void, beyond any star system known, beyond even the reach of the Varellan archives. Ilara received the transmission later that night. She stood alone on the bridge, staring out into the infinite stars. The galaxy was healing, but something was coming. Not a war, a reckoning. She didn't panic. She smiled, because now the galaxy was not divided. It was ready. It was united by something far stronger than fear. Truth. Choice. Humanity. As her ship sailed quietly across the stars, Ilara whispered just 4 words to herself, words that would later echo across future generations. Let them come now.